The CIA is interested in how people operate. So my first question is just how interested is the CIA and how do they go about researching people and behavior?
Such a good question, man. So I think the core of what CIA understands about human behavior that the average person doesn't is that human behavior is consistent across all people. It's predictable, yes, but it's also extremely consistent because whether you're sitting in India or sitting in the United States, whether you're highly educated or totally uneducated, the biology of the brain as a human being is almost identical around the world.
Hmm.
So the literal biological and chemical and electrical impulses of the brain are also extremely consistent. You only have to worry if you think about mathematics. All things land on a bell curve, and you've got the extreme on one side of the bell curve, and you've got the extreme on the other side of the bell curve. And combined, those two fringes make up about 20% of the population, which means the remaining 80% is inside that bell curve. That means 80% of the global population, their brain works almost the exact same way. So when you understand how the human brain works, how it looks at threats, how it considers opportunity, how it thinks about negative thoughts, how it handles future casting or vision casting versus fears and regrets, when you understand that, you can literally predict, anticipate, manipulate, and direct human behavior. And that's what CIA focuses on. Whereas the average person believes this lie that everybody's a special and different, unique flower. That somehow, because you like art and I like music, we're somehow uniquely different. And music and art and movies and books try to make us all feel like we're different by focusing on the small areas where we're dissimilar.
Hmm.
Where CIA recognizes there's huge areas where we are almost identical.
Interesting. And so there is dissimilarity at the edges, but most of it is fairly consistent.
Even if you just look at you and me, right? If you look at you and me, there's a million things different that you can see right now in our conversation. How we're dressed, what our background looks like. You can also infer differences in our personalities based off of how I'm dressed and what you're wearing, how I set up my studio, how you set up your studio. So we could quickly focus on hundreds of differences between us, but we would completely be skipping the gigantic similarities. You are a male, I am a male. You have facial hair, I have facial hair. We both have similar facial structures. You're getting married, I've been married,
Hmm.
right? The art on the back of your wall is something painted by your wife. The way that my studio was designed was implemented by my wife.
Hmm.
So all these huge areas that we are similar that we just skip over
Hmm.
because the human brain wants to focus on these small differences.
Very interesting. So, are these? I'm just interested if there are actual researches on human behavior or something akin to that that is conducted. Are there natural experiments? Are there some kind of like how is the research being done? How are they trying to understand people?
So that's a great question because the assumption is that somehow the intelligence agencies of the world have their own private research departments. And that's actually incorrect. Whether you're talking about India's RAW, the Research and Analysis Wing, or whether you're talking about the United States' CIA or even Israel's Mossad, what you have is an intelligence organization that falls under the same national funding source as the leading research institutes of the country. So that means that when, UCLA here in the United States or the University of Mumbai there in India, when they have a breakthrough in research, because they are federally funded to a certain level, that means the federal government has access to those research findings.
Hmm.
And depending on how much of the research funding was provided by government dollars, they also have the ability to kind of clamp the spread and publication of that research. Because at the end of the day, what researchers are looking for is funding to fund the research, which means they're looking for someone to buy the results.
Hmm.
What CIA and Mossad and RAW and the best agencies in the world, what they get a chance to do is have first dibs at new psychological results, new cognitive findings, new brain science, new medical research. They get it first before anybody else does because of how much of it is federally funded.